Resource packs were officially added to Terraria in version 1.4, or version 1.4.0.1 to be exact, allowing the users to customize most aspects of the game, such as text, music, images, and more, even allowing for custom fonts. But I assume you already know what a resource pack is if you clicked on this video, so I won't explain it too much. But the law of user input states, for any instance where a user can input custom data into a game or program, it can and will be used to find glitches or unintended behavior. I just made that up, but it makes sense. Something as simple as placing blocks in Terraria could lead to glitches such as transmutation, allowing you to turn a torch into any other item. But how does this apply to resource packs? Well, the most common thing in a resource pack is changing textures, and despite what I just said, I'm not sure if any game-breaking things can be done with them. Other than changing the pixel color, the image has to stay the same size. This can be bypassed like I did for CMod Loader, which is vanilla Terraria, but in purely vanilla Terraria, I'm not sure anything can be done with it. But then what can be done with resource packs to cause the game to break in interesting ways? Well, due to resource packs allowing you to modify the text in the game, this can be used to break formatting and even crash the game. Although there are probably more, I have found 4 ways text formatting can be used to cause the game to function unintendedly. So starting off with a simple backslash, I'm sure some of you know where I'm going with this. Backslashes can be used as breakout characters, and you may have seen \n and \r be used. These refer to the new line and tab character respectively, but Terraria also takes into account backslashes when formatting. If you've ever tried to display colored text in chat while also wanting to use square brackets, you would need to place a backslash in front of a bracket so the game knows it's not the end of a section. So if we can find text formatting hard-coded into the game, where it also uses text from the resource pack, instead of displaying the formatted text, we could display the formatting. This formatting can be used to display glyphs, achievements, items, and player names. Player names might be the most notable example, as ending a player name with a backslash breaks the formatting. As you can see, this is the player name. However, when I enter the world and type in chat, the player name changes. It no longer has the arrow brackets, and you can see all of the formatting. Also ignore the render distance, I'm working on a different video. If anybody knows a mod that can do this in TMod Loader or allows for water to flow upwards, post it in the comments, as I want to find something that CMod Loader can do that TMod Loader can't. But don't tell the TMod Loader community, as they seem not to like my mod loader. But anyways, this player text formatting has nothing to do with resource packs, but I found a different location where color formatting is hard-coded. For those who don't know, when buying stuff with defender medals, the currency text color changes every frame. This means for defender medals, if we have a backslash, we can see the formatting. This doesn't really break the game, but it is unintended behavior. But what could break the game is speaking to NPCs. Some NPCs, when spoken to, run code that formats their dialogue. The angler, for example, requires knowing the amount of fishing quests you've complete, but we can abuse this and have the cat NPC tell us how many times we've died. This also works with many other values. We could instead have the cat tell us information about the world, but unfortunately there are only specific values we can use, and none of them are values that can't be found in-game, so values such as luck cannot be found using this method. Some of the values call functions which might allow for glitches, but at the moment I haven't found any. But there is a glitch we can do with a similar method. Some NPCs have dialogue based off of the time of day, which means we can have the cat tell us if it's night or day. The way this works is if a variable is a boolean type, and there is specific formatting at the beginning of a dialogue, instead of printing the value, it will print a dialogue based off of the value. But like I said, this only works if the variable is a boolean type. But if the variable is an integer and it cannot be converted to a nullable boolean type, the NPC dialog breaks. It does not display the menu, however the game thinks that the menu is open. To open my inventory, I have to close the menu by pressing escape and then pressing escape another time to open it. This doesn't break the game other than not displaying a menu, but what can break the game is invalid text formatting. This calls an internal function which assumes it's being called properly. If we supply with invalid information, it can cause rendering to fail. But first of all, what am I even talking about? In C# there is a function called format. It's supposed to be called with a string and an array of parameters, where the string contains a number surrounded by braces. This value refers to a parameter index, where the parameter is then put into the string. But if you have an index larger than the amount of parameters, the function fails. And when the function fails, the entire thread does. So the rendering is stopped midway. If we can find a place where text is formatted this way, we can have the game stop rendering important information. If we set the user's mana string to an invalid index, when hovering over an item that uses mana, the panel is not displayed. If instead I break rendering somewhere else, like displaying fishing power, all of the inventory and mouse stops rendering. It might be possible to find a place where this occurs that could stop rendering before important variables are set, but I have not managed to find one. However, so far these haven't really broken the game that much. However, I found a way that can crash the game just using resource packs. Reference formatting allows one string to contain another. This can be used instead of writing the same thing over and over. However, it's possible to have a string reference itself. This ends up creating a string so large that the game just crashes. So large in fact that the Visual Studio's debugger can't show it all. If it was possible to reload a resource pack in game, it would be possible to crash the game on demand. This has been used in the past to cause more glitches to occur, but due to other methods existing, it wouldn't be overly helpful. These are all the things I've found so far. I haven't seen anybody make a video on this, and because 1.4.5 is coming out pretty soon and I assume they will be patched, I figured I'd make this video to talk about them, as they could become obsolete.